going to be reviewing for our polynomial test, and the first part has to do with like quadratics. And all we're going to do right here is we're going to find the vertex, the y-intercept, the x-intercept. I want to show you the easiest way to do it, especially with graphing calculators. All right? So if you have one, it's great. If you don't have one on this side, please don't walk in front of the camera. Just wait up a second. But here's what we're going to do. Right here. This form right here, I'm going to write it y equals what? A times x minus h squared plus k is already, your vertex is right here, hk. And remember, h is in what? Inside wire. So what's the vertex? Not positive 4.
Negative 4.
So yeah, negative 4. This one's negative 4 what? Negative what? 3. So that's the actual vertex for this one. Now, I'm going to go ahead and skip down to 2 and do the y-intercept, because right here in this black, I'm going to tell you what's already given here. At the y-intercept, when you graph these, the y-intercept, what's your x value here is what? 0, right? So if you put 0 in here, what happens to all these numbers? They're just going to what? Go away, right? So that means the y-intercept is actually what? 0, and then what? 1 what? 4th. And using that logic, if I put 0 in here, they all go away. It's at what? Then what? 0 what? 5. Right? So those are the y-intercepts. Those are given to you just by the way the problems are what? Set up and written. Okay? Now, what we want to do next is this here. Oh, I'll come back to that. Oh, slower. Basically, the y-intercept, if you put 0 in here, 0 times these are just going to make it go away. So what do you have left? 1, 4.
That was
Oh, okay. And here, if I put 0 right here, right? They go away, so what's left? 5. Okay. So, now then, what I want to do is this here. I'm going to go ahead and go to 2 and 3 to work it easier, to get it in the vertex form, like kind of like, I'm going to show you the easiest way to find the vertex. And y'all, you might want to make a note on your paper. The easiest way to find the vertex is with negative b over 2a, because that's your h. Remember, your vertex is at what? H what? K, right? And then once you get that answer, our little doggy, what? Plug it what? Plug it in, right? So here's, I'll explain in a second. I don't think you've seen it because you haven't been here as much. So first off, come over here. On this problem here, what's A? A is what?
A is
1. What's B? 3. And C is, and actually I don't even need to C on this problem right here. We'll need it on another one in a minute. And all I'm going to do is this. Negative B over 2A, right? So 3B, it's negative 3 over 2 times 1, which makes it what? Negative 3 over what? 2. So I know this. I know the vertex is going to be at negative 3 halves something. I just need to find the other part. How do I find the other part? By plugging it in, right? So I'm going to plug negative 3 halves. I'm going to go to the problem right here, and I'm going to type in negative 3 halves, square it, plus 3 times negative 3 halves, right? Plus what? 1/4, right? Well, negative 3 halves squared is what? That's 9/4. That's minus 9 halves plus 1/4. Well, you have to have a common denominator, or you can go to the calculator and what? Type it all in, right? Hit math fraction and get an answer. But here's the thing, 9 halves, this is the same thing as 9/4, and 9 halves is 18/4, because basically I'm just doubling each of these, right? Multiplying by 2, plus 1/4. Well, 9 minus 18 is negative 9/4, plus 1/4 makes negative 8/4, which is the same thing as just what? Negative what? Negative 2. So the vertex at 2 was what? Negative 3 halves, negative 2.
I got a question.
Yes.
Where did you get the negative 3 over 2 squared?
Right here. Okay. Here's the equation. See this equation right here? The parentheses are the x. The parentheses are that x, right? And I plugged in Remember, my negative b over 2a, which is just negative 3 halves. So that's why I squared it. It's x squared, right? Plus 3 times x. Well, x is this. Because it's your vertex, that's your x value at the vertex, right? So I can just plug it in to get that. That's what I make. So on this one right here, this is the same thing down here. Come down here and do what? Negative b over what? 2a, right?
Where did you go with the 3 parentheses negative 3 over 2? Or where?
Oh, right here, net 9
No, the
fourths.
next one.
Here?
Yeah.
Went to 9 halves.
Right.
There's 3, that's 3 over 1. That's negative 9 halves. Okay, plus 1/4. And then in order to add fractions, you have to have a what? Common what?
No.
That's why 9 halves, I multiplied it by 2, I got the 18 fourths.
Okay.
Negative 18 fourths. Now this one I think is a little easier because it doesn't have a fraction in it, I think. So here's what happens.
Negative.
It's negative 2, because 2 make it negative, over 2 times negative 1. Well, what's negative? That's negative 2 over negative 2, which means that x is actually positive what? 1. So I know the vertex is at what? 1 comma what? Something, right? Now, before I go, now I'm going to go what? Take this 1 and plug it what? Plug it in here, right? So I'm going to go negative of 1 squared plus 2 times 1 plus 5. This means make it 1 squared and then make it what? Negative. So you'll have negative 1 plus 2 plus 5. Well, negative 1 plus 2 is 1. 1 plus 5 makes the answer what? 6. 1, 6. So, now then, did those like the following? And now I'm going to take this here. All right, if you would, pull up the Wabbit menu, all right? And if you would, go to problem, I'm going to erase this here. Go to number 1 and type in that, if you would, that x. I'm going to erase all this stuff here.
No.
Don't erase that? Okay. I'm going to erase this here. Okay, keep filming. As she types that in, and you might want to slide, you can type x plus 4. Plus 4, it's kind of hard to see, maybe get the screen over there. Squared, minus 3. Minus 3. And then hit graph. And you're kind of slide it maybe, because you can see it looks like that right there. Now, go ahead and go to second table. Because here's what I want you to notice. To find the Y-intercept, where's the Y-intercept at? The Y-intercept occurs when x is what? 0. So it's, I already know it's what? 0 what? 13. Now, I'll show you how to get that answer in a second, but that's an easy way with the Y. Calculator. While you're on that, leave that in Y1, now go to Y equals, and go to Y2, and in Y2, type in the second equation, the x squared plus 3x plus, and I always put the 1/4 in parentheses. I don't think you would have to on this one, but I think it's always good. And now hit your, you can hit graph. When I look at it, it'll show them both on there. Go ahead and hit second table.
That's second graph.
Second table. Now we go. Now if you would kind of get down here, we see the screen a little better. You'll kind of pull it down just a little bit. Now notice on the second one, when x is 0, the Y-intercept is what? 0.25, which is what? 1/4, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Also, go ahead and do this here. Go ahead and go ahead and go type in the third one. Go to Y equals. And go type in the third problem and the third one. Leave them all on there so you can see it. All right. So you're going to go in squared. You got the problem in front of you, because I can't see it here. Second, as you're typing that in. And now go ahead and look at the graph. And you're going to see this one goes down. And go ahead and hit second table again. Now, and you have to arrow over one to the third column. Okay, now, notice at 0 you also have what? 5. And something else I want to show you is right here. Look, here you have a 5. Here you have a 5 where they're going And notice the vertex was at what? 1 what? 1, 6, right? You happen to see that on that one. If you would, go all the way back to the first column. And if you would go up, kind of go over, I want to see -5 here. If you would, just want to see, there, okay, that's good. And notice here, notice -3, -2, -5, -2. There was also my what? Now that's not a good way, because that's not always 100% accurate, but maybe if you get stuck, you kind of can still what? Check that out just a little bit as a possible type way to do it. All right, and now if you would, go ahead and minimize this here. And what I'm going to do is now go back to, okay, so we had those right there. I'm now going to go back to what do we still at? The what? X what? Intercept. All right, now on this one, set it equal to 0, and do x plus 4 squared minus 3, and then just solve. Because what I would do is what? Add what to each side? 3. So 3 would equal x plus 4 squared. And then how would I get rid of that x plus 4 squared? Square root it. But when I do, I got to do plus or minus, right? On this side, equals x plus 4. And now what do I do with that? Minus what? 4. So y'all, so that's the x-intercept is right there, is where it equals 0. So I would write the x-intercept like this. Parentheses, -4 plus or minus the square root of 3, comma what? 0. So I happen to find that particular x-intercept. I would do that one that way. Now these next two, I'm going to go back to my, right here. These will not factor, will they? So that means I'm going to use the quadratic formula, right? So for the quadratic formula, I'm going to write it right here. X equals, and if you remember that little tune, it's, to the tune of pop goes the weasel, negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So I know I'm kind of corny, I sing really bad, and y'all can't really laugh. I appreciate you trying not to laugh on camera. Then we have a is 1, b was 3, and c is what? 1/4, right? So we're just going to go what? Plug it in, plug it in. So we'll have this. We'll have x equals. Now negative b makes it what? -3 plus or minus. Now y'all, I'm going to go into, now I could write 3 squared minus 4 times 1 times 1/4 all over 2 times 1. But y'all, if I was you, I probably would have just done this. Now I'm in teacher mode, so I wrote it all out, right? I would have probably gone x equals -3 plus or minus. And what's 3 squared? 9. And think about it, 4 times 1 is 4, right? It's negative. Times 1/4, what's got 4 going to do to those 4s? Cancel it out, right? I probably would have gone straight to there, just because, what's 9 minus 1? So it's -3 plus or minus the square root of 8. And the square root of 8 is equal to 4 times 2. So that makes it 2 square roots of 2. So x equals, it should be -3. You can't hardly see my negative because where I have my equal signs there. -3 plus or minus 2 square roots of 2 over 2. Now y'all, I will take that. If you look at a book answer, this is what the book will do. The book will do this. X equals -3/2 plus or minus. And what did the book do? They canceled that 2 out. Either one's fine. I would probably go over here and do -3 plus or minus 2 square root of 2 all over 2, comma 0 for the x-intercept.
Yeah.
And then to find the x-intercept on this one right here, I'm going to do my -b over 2a, but here a is what? Hey, remember, everything you say is to be recorded. A is 1, actually not 1, but what? -1. B is 2, and C is 5. All right? So I come back up here and plug it in. X equals, -2 plus or minus square root of 2 squared minus 4 times -1 times 5 all over 2 times this -1. So that means it would be -2 plus or minus 4, and that's going to technically be plus 20. over negative 2. Well, that's going to be actually what? The square root of what? 24. And square root of 24 is the same as what? 4 times 6. So it makes it what? 2 square roots of what? 6. So x equals negative 2 plus or minus 2 square roots of 6. Now what can I do with this negative 2? It'll go into all those, won't it?
Mm-hmm.
So that means the answer will be x equals positive 1 plus or minus the square root of 6, which I will write this way. 1 plus or minus the square root of 6, comma, 0. All right? Now, y'all, you can use the calculator to get some of those answers. Obviously, the calculator won't give you like these with like the square roots in them. All right? These 9 right here, like these, a couple of these are not that hard, right? Because it comes straight from like copying down, and a couple of them are. That's probably the hardest part of that particular part of the test, right? So